guys, welcome to the School of Rockstar. This is another episode of Think Like a Rock Star, guys. Rockstars of entrepreneurship. Who are they? Tom Willio, Gary Vee, Evan Carmichael, Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins, Tim Ferriss, Jay Shetty, or Lewis House. All these people are rock stars because I want to become an entrepreneur. So I'm learning from them each and every day. So learn from your masters. So today's topic is connect with people. You need to connect with people.
The biggest myth about vulnerability is that it's weakness. I think a lot of people were raised to believe that. It was modeled, I think, certainly in our culture. We see that a lot, that to be vulnerable, to be open, to be exposed is to be weak. And the truth is, what I found in my research is that vulnerability is not weakness. In fact, I would argue that it's our greatest measure of courage. When we went out and asked people, what is vulnerability? We heard things like, vulnerability is the first date after my divorce. Vulnerability is starting my own company. Vulnerability is taking responsibility for something that went wrong at work. Vulnerability is sitting with my wife who has stage 3 breast cancer and making plans for our young kids. Vulnerability is taking my business public. The definition I use in my work of vulnerability is simply uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. Vulnerability is about the willingness to show up and to be seen even when there are no guarantees. And it's interesting to me, one of the things that I thought was really interesting, I gave a talk, it's probably a couple of years now, and it was being translated by people doing American Sign Language, and they came up before the talk started and they said, are there any words that you're going to use a lot in your talk that we should know about that or might be different? And I said, well, I use the word vulnerability a lot. And there were two of them, and they kind of looked at each other and they said, oh, we do this for vulnerability. And I said, what does that mean? They said, it means weak in the knees. And I'm like, wow, that's not how I talk about vulnerability. And she said, well, there's only one other sign for vulnerability. And I said, what is it? And she said, and I said, oh, that's what I'm talking about. And so to me, vulnerability is our most accurate measure of courage. It's pretty powerful when I have 13,000 pieces of data collected over 12 years that I cannot find a single incident or story of courage that was not completely underpinned by vulnerability. I think the problem arises that there's so many little paradoxes with vulnerability, and one of them is that vulnerability is courage in you, but weakness in me. When I meet you, it's the first thing I look for in you, but it's the last thing I want to show you in me. And so I think to really put ourselves out there, knowing that if we do that enough, we're going to fail, I just don't think.
Guys, what is the advantage of connecting with people? Because if you help them to grow, then they will help you to grow your business. Because if you are starting a business or if you are running a business, then it's not a one-man show. You need to get that help from your community, your subscribers. So if you have a newsletter, so some of the people will connect to will subscribe to that newsletters, right? So you need to find the time, you need to donate your time and you need to connect with them. Spend a little bit of time to make their lives better, because they are helping your business, they are helping you in your business, because through subscribing. Because when people subscribe to your channel or when people subscribe to your newsletter, they're helping you. Because when somebody subscribes you'll get that energy, right? So you need to give, you need to share that energy to other people in your community, guys. So connect with people, spend time with people, and know their stories, what they are doing, what is the business they are running, how you can help them, how you can make their lives better. Even sometimes you feel like it's I'm very busy. If you are telling very busy, then you don't have priorities in your life. Because I have that busy schedule all the day at my work, but I won't say that busy, that I make my priorities. You need to have that priorities to to donate your time. You need to spend time. You need to connect with people, and also like as a normal person, if I'm as a normal person, I don't like I there is no necessary to talk to people or interview people, but it's my passion. That's my like they are helping me to get better at speaking or asking questions. And what I am giving them back is I'm editing their videos. I'm doing interviews on Instagram live, but sometimes that lives it disconnects in the middle or will have some technical problem. But what I do is I will edit those videos and make those videos better, because they can use that interview to in their website, or they are helping me. They are donating their time to share their story, to share their passion and work with me. So what I'm giving back is I'm giving back the same kind of value that they have given me. It's all possible through connecting with people. If you don't know how to connect with people, just provide value and they will help you. Like what I do is, if I really want to interview one person, or like I want to get this person as a guest, then what I do is I'll follow them on Instagram or YouTube, and I will check their pictures or videos that they have posted on their profiles, and I will comment what I feel by seeing that video, what I felt, what is my opinion, and how they help me by posting that video. I provide value through connecting people. You need to connect with people, and they feel like this person is providing value to my business and to my community who follow. Some other people will follow that person, right? They also see my comment, and if they like it, they follow me back. So it's helping. If you connect with people and if you add value to them, then they will connect back to you and they will help you to grow. It's not a single or a solo journey to make it happen. It's a community thing. If you help them, they will help you to grow your business bigger and bigger. So connecting with people is really a major thing in your life, or if you're running a business, because any business runs with the trust, with the value we provide, and also with the people. Without people, there is no business. So connect with people. Connections are more valuable in your life. Add value to them, they will add value. They will add back that value to your business. So connect. Spend time. Even if you have that busy schedule, make some time to connect with people. Think. Don't be a victim of your life. Be a rock star of your life. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. If you like this video, give it a like and leave your comment, leave your question in the comment section. I will give you a video response. Thank you so much. Thank you guys.
Rapport is power. Earlier today we said anything you want to achieve, anything you want to learn, master, experience, there's somebody out there who has a life experience, the understanding, the network, the capital, the thing you need to be able to achieve it. But they're not going to give you what they want, or they're not going to give you what you want, rather, and need, until you first give them what they want and need. And you're not even going to find out what they want and need until you first get in a relationship of rapport. If you don't do that, you're never going to learn anything. Rapport is power. What is a relationship of rapport? Rapport means total responsiveness between people. When someone is totally responding to you, and you're totally responding to them, you're in rapport. There's that connection. It's that spark that happens in certain communications or relationships. Now, everybody wants to create rapport, have it, but most people only get rapport with people who are like whom? Themselves, and they lose with everybody else, which means you got a very limited world. So we want to take it to a different level. So let's say, for example, if I said to you right now, guys, I want you to go out to a local restaurant or bar, and I want you to meet somebody, and I want you to develop rapport with them, a connection with them. How many feel like you could do that? No problem. Say aye. And if you're not raising your hand, you're probably selling yourself short. Of course you could. How would you do it, though? You'd walk to this restaurant or bar, you meet somebody, and you'd engage them in conversation by asking a few what? Questions. Now, is it possible to ask a few questions and have the conversation go poof and just die? Is that possible? Yes or no? So questions don't create rapport. Questions are a tool we use to dig for something. What are you digging for when you're asking these questions? You're trying to find something in what? That's right. So write in your notes, rapport is created by a feeling of commonality. Rapport is created by a feeling of commonality. Rapport is created by a feeling of commonality. When we feel like we have something in common with someone, there's a spark. Now, here's the problem. If rapport is created by a feeling of commonality, most people try to get rapport by using words. But you've already learned something. What percentage of our communication skills are words? What percentage? 7%, which means you're leaving out 93% of your skills, which is why most people don't get rapport with a large number of people. You know, what do? You walk in a restaurant or a bar and go, hi, what's your name? Where are you from? Why are you here? And the person says, my name's Habib. I'm from Iraq. I'm a terrorist. I'm here to kill people. And you go, amazing. Me too. No. See, words don't always work, do they? But there is something that always works to get rapport, and it's something called matching and mirroring. Matching and mirroring. Now, matching and mirroring came about 35 years ago when we've all done matching and mirroring our whole lives. But the person who pointed out was Milton Erickson. Dr. Erickson was a genius. What he did was he was a medical doctor, but he also was a psychologist and a hypnotherapist, probably the best that ever lived. And people would come to see him who try to change everything anywhere else in their life, nothing would work. They see him for one session, he'd handle it. And the reason is because he understood something. He understood that you have both a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. And he knew the subconscious is more powerful. It's the part that makes your heart beat 100,000 times a day without having to think about it. So he knew if he could influence your subconscious mind, he could change anything, and that's what he did. But here's how he did it. He had polio, so he was in a wheelchair. So he spent an enormous amount of time studying people. And he began to notice something about human beings, that when human beings got together, if they got in rapport, a relationship of responsiveness, they became like each other in a variety of ways. What he called they mirrored each other. Now, I've taught this for 25 years, so I'm sure you've heard of it, and I've written it in my books, and it's been taught in a variety of other areas now. But it's one thing to know it intellectually or to understand it. It's another thing to know it while you're doing it. And that's what I want to get you to do tonight so you have a real experience of it that you won't forget. But here's the basis of it. People like people who are like whom? Themselves. And people don't like people who are not like themselves. To be more specific, write this down. People like people who are like themselves or who are like how they would like to be. People like people who are like themselves or are how they would like to be. People like people who are like themselves or how they would like to be. So question, I'd like you to think of someone you really, really like a lot. And then if you would, raise your hand if this person is either like you or they're like how you want to be. If that's true, raise your hand and say, I. Of course, that's why you like them. Now, think of someone you don't like. And I'm sure you like everyone, but if you once were an unspiritual person and felt these feelings, someone you don't like, raise your hand if they're not like you or they're not like how you want to be. If that's true, raise your hand and say, I. And that's the opposite. People don't like people who are not like them or are not like how they want to be. That's the bottom line of it. So this concept, Erickson noticed, he used it in the following way. Watch me. If you came in to see Dr. Erickson, instead of talking to you intellectually and trying to get through to you, he'd go right for the jugular by getting your nervous system connected to him, getting rapport. So if you came to him and you said, Dr. Erickson, I don't know, this is a waste of time. I've tried everything and I don't know, I think I should just go. He would do this. He'd go, I'm I'm sure it looks that way on the surface, but you haven't tried this, so you haven't tried everything, and I think you should stay. And the person would go, something about this guy I like. You know, he's not over the top, you know what I mean? He's like really real. There's just something about him that feels down home and real to me, right? If you came in to see him and he said, Dr. Erickson, I've tried everything. It's a waste of my time. I'm out of here. He'd say, you sit out. You haven't tried everything. You've not done this before. You're staying right here. The guy goes, hey, I like this guy. He's got some spunk, kick ass. Maybe he could do something. See, he became like the people he was communicating with, and what it was is whatever they put out, he sent the same message back, like biofeedback, and it entrained them to him. So that when he then told their unconscious what to do, their brain just did it. That was his power.